Can everybody hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Just want to make sure. Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and call the meeting of the special Bloomington City Council to order. And if we can put our hand over our heart and we'll do a quick pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
Indivisible,
with liberty and justice.
for all.
And I wonder if we could have a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Mackey,
Here.
Councilmember Boland,
Here.
Councilmember Mwambwe,
Here.
Councilmember Emig,
Here.
Councilmember Painter,
Here.
Councilmember Carrillo,
Here.
Councilmember Black,
Here.
Councilmember Crable,
Here.
Councilmember Bray,
Here.
Mayor Renner.
Here. Thank you very much. At this point, I'm going to turn over to our clerk because of the nature of public comment virtually. Do we have anyone online who's interested in participating in public comment?
Mayor, we actually did not have anyone submit emailed comments or register to speak live today.
We did not. Okay, so we're basically having a session where we're passing potentially a $230 million budget. And I guess it doesn't begin with the C, so I guess maybe that's why. Okay, so there is no public comment of any form to announce or to recognize. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Under consent agenda, there's an electronic roll call vote, but we don't have anything on the consent agenda because this is a special meeting, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so we move to our regular agenda for the special meeting, and that is consideration and action on the adoption of the fiscal year 2021 budget and appropriations ordinance as requested by the Finance Department. And they do have a recommended motion, but before we proceed to that, we do have a 10-minute presentation by Scott Rathman and approximately a 30-minute council discussion. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to turn it actually over to our city manager who may have some preparatory remarks. Mr. Gleason.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Big night for us before Council's the consideration for the FY21 adoption. I know that we've said this many times pre-COVID, definitely discussed this during COVID, what we've been experiencing since mid-March. But the recommendation of staff is to adopt the pre-COVID FY21 proposed budget. We explained this at the committee of the whole meeting on Monday night and other opportunities to discuss the negative financial impacts that we know are going to come our way. So the idea behind adopting the proposed FY21 budget as presented is to prepare and be able to shift and have a backup plan when we start seeing more clearly what these negative financial impacts are to the city. I know Scott Rathman explained those. He's going to walk through those. I think he's got 4 or 5 slides that he's going to present tonight, and then this comes before council. Appreciate the opportunity to do this as a special meeting, just to have a backup plan to the backup, just in case something changed. We still had the April 27th regular council meeting to adopt, to address, and then adopt before May 1st. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to you, Scott. Thanks.
Scott?
Okay, there we go. I've been unmuted.
Got you. Sorry.
Craig or Scott Sprouse, can we bring up the presentation, please? There we go. Thank you very much. A very, very short presentation this evening. No changes from proposed, as Tim just mentioned, and we discussed Monday night. I wanted to start by kind of summarizing, going through the final slide for Monday, just kind of reiterating some of the things the city manager just mentioned. We know the COVID-19 financial situation is very fluid. Staff's recommendation is to avoid making any global decisions this time related to FY21. As we presented Monday night, we've gone through a lot of review and scenario planning, modeling. We've identified some backup dollars, projects, equipment, use of reserves potentially to accommodate one of the scenarios. And we're taking a lot of action as far as forward-looking review on upcoming bids, things that might commit us now to expenses where the revenue won't be realized until through later in the year. And the obvious example for that is asphalt and concrete, where we'll be incurring those expenses during the summer and into the fall. We've reduced the bids that we're going out for that by approximately a little bit over $1 million. We've established that the scope of the projects are adjustable. So if revenues start decreasing from our projections, we can change our course. We have strong reserves. This provides us the flexibility to go into FY21 and kind of assess as we go. And we're setting aside all the data, or capturing all the data related to any kind of federal assistance that we might be able to gain on the other side of this. So trying to dot all the I's, check all the boxes, cross all the T's, everything we can. It's all hands on deck for staff at the city related to this budget. So, having said that, we'll just go through some of the summary slides for 21. So next slide, please. Okay, so no new numbers here. Citywide budget 230.3 million. The general fund at a 110.2. As I'm going to repeat some things from Monday just briefly. The obvious math on that. 230.3 versus the 110.2. That means that $120.1 million of non-general fund budget. Splitting the budget between general fund and non-general fund. The enterprise funds comprise a large portion of that. Just wanted to highlight again that we're not expecting material impact on the water, sewer, storm, solid waste funds. A lot of infrastructure projects planned for FY21 there, but of course we're going to watch that very seriously. All the revenue developments, the consumption developments. We've looked at consumption. Consumption at this point has not gone down. Highlights, capital projects, $41 million for the year. Now as we highlighted Monday night, we're holding back on some of those, but I still wanted to point out, $16 million in enterprise infrastructure projects are budgeted for FY21. We have approximately $21 million in street-related projects budgeted. Now, 12.6 of that is comes from the state motor fuel tax fund for those larger street-related projects, and and we're shaving off a little bit off the asphalt and concrete, but still a very material budget year for capital projects related to streets. And then just want to highlight again, our $5 million initial going into the year backup plan are related to COVID. A combination of projects, managed savings, reserves. And as I mentioned just a few moments ago, this really provides us the ability to go into the year and assess as we go, have that confidence in our process, our review process, and keep our eyes on developments as they occur and make adjustments as they occur. Next slide, please. This is a slide that was presented during the proposed budget, the general fund by function. I want to highlight here that these are gross expenditure numbers. So a lot of these departments have offsetting revenues such as parks, and you can see facilities maintenance with parking, the parking revenues. So I wanted to highlight that. And then, of course, not to pick on public safety, but just highlighting that 51.2% of our general fund budget is related to public safety, a very important, obvious service for the community. And you can see the attention that's being provided to that function here in the budget. Another large number, within that $56.4 million, $0.5 million are the public safety pensions, which are approximately $11.4 million. Next slide, please. This is a citywide budget by fund. Again, I wanted to mention that these are gross expenditures by fund. Obviously, there's revenues that offset some of these numbers. I'll use Gross Singer Motors Arena as an example. That's a $5 million budget. Well, the net expense for the arena is approximately $2.7 million, 1.6 million being the bond, and the remainder being maintenance, and then the portion that's set aside or that we budgeted for venue works is capped at $350,000 now. I want to mention that the city actually has 29 funds. Some of these have been on this slide. The insurance funds have been grouped by category. All the funds are listed in the ordinance that's been provided to council that will be voted on this evening. 29 funds. There's a lot of complexity to our financial structure in the city, but here we try to consolidate some of those into the major ones so that we can give the community an idea of where those dollars are being spent. I wanted to comment on the additional detail, not only in the ordinance this evening, but our budget books. Tremendous amount of detail by fund, by department is provided in those budget books. They can be very intimidating documents, but if the community is interested in finding out exactly the processes and the services that are occurring in the departments and see details on those funds, I encourage everyone to go online and look at the budget books or go to the locations where we have them stored. Can I go to the next slide, please? So for now, the proposed budget book can be viewed on the website. We have hard copies at the city library and the clerk's office. We'll finalize the books for the adoption and have those available by May 31st. I wanted to close just by summarizing, we have a very strong and diverse local economy. We have a very dedicated staff, very dedicated council. As I mentioned earlier, it's really a feeling of all hands on deck here at the city. I mentioned Monday night, and I truly believe this, we have a very strong cost control culture here. I believe it was exhibited in the amount of discussion that occurred around and the research that's gone into our insurance provider and the premiums that we're looking at for the coming year. And we have a confidence, I guess, to kind of wrap that up in our process. The revenue charting, the financial reviews we do with our department heads every month, the reviews of our council memos and procurement. With all this, we know we can successfully address the budget for this coming year and the issues that we're confronted with from COVID-19. But we know we have a lot of support within the city, a lot of support within the community, and especially the support from our council. So I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
Questions of Mr. Rath? And let me go. Can we get out of the screen mode? Okay. Yeah, actually, okay. I can see, let's see. Donna Bolin.
Yes, we've gone over the budget many times. I have complete confidence in Scott and his department and the department heads. I would like to make a motion to accept as presented.
Okay, and that, again, that doesn't, and it looks like maybe a second by Alderwoman Braid. We just want to make clear that this does not stop necessarily the discussion. We just have a motion on the floor. And
I understand.
Yeah, no, I knew that. I just wanted to make it clear. I knew you knew that, Donna. Kim, did you want to make a second?
Yes, I'll second that motion. Thank you.
Okay, now we can go to discussion, comments on the budget. Okay, I see mute buttons. Okay, I'm going to call Ripley's here. Okay, we're passing a budget. Wow, that's oh, Scott Black.
I mean,
of course, our friendly neighborhood millennial has got to add something.
Come on, exactly. No, I just wanted, this process was laid out by Tim and staff. Probably, I think we started having these conversations very beginning of the year, if not the end of 2019, really mapping out how we would get to tonight. Obviously, things have changed dramatically since that plan was put in place, and we've been adaptable to that. So I just want to thank our team. I could just say that having sat through it, I'm looking at Maboka, he doesn't know it, but looking at Maboka, we've not always had such a smooth process, even though we're dealing with a global pandemic. We've really certainly mapped it out for the public, and they've been able to watch how we've come to the decisions that we've made and to tonight. So just want to thank Tim, Scott, and the team for all the work they've done thus far, and we'll continue to do as we adapt to our new normal.
Thank you, Alderman Black. Thank you. And I just want to also to say on that very note, I can tell you by the number of emails that I get from the U.S. Conference of Mayors, which is about 3 a day, and some of those I do try to share with you if they're of particular importance, but we are, compared to the rest of the cities in the United States, doing very well. And that doesn't mean, and Tim is probably clutching his chest, but it doesn't mean we're in a strong position or we ought to just say, hey, yeah, who's your daddy now? We're doing fine. It just means that as of right now, we're doing really well with prudent financial management, some decisions of the past councils and our current council and our current staff. And I do want to thank them and join Alderman Black in thanking our staff. We, relative to other communities, at this point are doing really well. Now, we don't know. I mean, if this lasts until September, there could be lots of financial repercussions, but we're hoping that that does not happen. And again, I want to thank you, Tim, thank you, Scott, thank you, Billy, and others, all the staff that have put in time in this, and thank the council. At this point, I want to go to, in the order that I see them, actually, I guess they're in alphabetical order, Councilmember Boland and Councilmember Carrillo. Councilmember Boland?
Can't get it up there. The only thing I would like to add is for the benefit of the community. And just because we're passing this budget, which looks large, has a lot of items listed that we hope we can accomplish, this budget is open to amendment. If the money is not coming in, we're not going to be able to do a lot of the things that are listed in here. So I don't want you to think that we are just blindly going ahead and passing a $230 million budget. We may end up a third of that. So just be calm and know that we have the eye on the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. That's an excellent point. Just because money is budgeted doesn't mean that it's just an automatic spigot of cash that goes to particular items. And we know that we return usually $1 million or more to the city's treasury because of prudent financial management every year. Councilmember Carrillo.
Yep, just wanted to echo that sentiment that Councilmember Boland brought up, and also give a word of thanks to our amazing staff who took us through this process. Not only was the process smooth and smoother than it's been in other years, but also I think they showed a lot of patience and grace for those of us for whom this was our first time going through the process on the inside. So really, really appreciative of that. The only area where I would that I would say I want to see us grow, and not that there's anything wrong with the way that we're doing things now, but I do want to see us grow, is in making sure that our budget conversations are structured in a way and that we provide opportunities so that our budget is understood by all of our residents, regardless of their education level, and that the burden should not be on them to go through 600 pages to be able to know what's going on. And so I think that that's a place that we can grow, and I'm excited to be a part of helping that happen.
Thank you, Councilmember Carrillo. And I would like to underscore that. We did have, once we had a really difficult budget year back in 14, when we went to 15, we had a budget task force, and that happened as of, I think it was like May 3rd or something, right into our fiscal year. So we began a budget process, but I'd be happy to work with you or any other member of council if we want to have some meetings, assuming we get past this point where we can actually meet together to educate the public on what at 500 feet our budget looks like, what it looks like at 100 feet, and then what it looks like on the ground. Because our citizens, this is their money, right? And it's their lives, it's their future. So I think you're absolutely right, Councilmember Carrillo. I strongly support that. And as we get restrictions that are loosened, please let me know, and I'll talk to you too, about ways that we can begin to make this happen sooner rather than later. Because if we get people starting tuning in around December or January, a lot of stuff gets frozen because we make our assessment in December. We make a lot of decisions before then. So this is an ongoing process, and thank you for helping to educate people. I appreciate that. Let's see, I have Councilmember Matthey and Councilmember Emig.
Mayor, I'm glad you clarified that, because at first I thought you were going to say that you wanted to attend the classes to understand the budget better. So thank you for clarifying.
It can't hurt.
No, I appreciate staff and everything that they've done. I just wanted to mention to anybody who might have been watching tonight and didn't watch Monday, that if they want more information on kind of staff's preparations around the COVID-19 situation, go back and watch the Monday meeting where we talked in depth about multiple different scenarios, depending on when we are allowed to reopen businesses in Bloomington. Staff did a fabulous job presenting that on Monday. So, and that video is available on YouTube with all the rest of the streams. I also just wanted to mention something I forgot to say Monday night, which is that, the city is one of the top 10 largest employers in Bloomington. And so when we're talking about budget stuff, I got several emails from people who wanted us to cut everything out of the budget. If we start cutting everything out of the budget, that's actually going to have a significant ripple effect through our community, where if we're not spending money on road construction or things like that, those workers aren't getting paid and they're not going to grocery stores and shopping. And I mean, so there's a big ripple effect there too. So we have to be careful when we're making decisions to strategically do it in the right places so that we don't actually create a worse problem than we're faced right now. So thank you again to staff for everything that you guys have done. And thank you for a very smooth process.
Thank you, Councilmember Matthey. I very much appreciate your points. And I can tell you that internationally with COVID's, cities environment, updates, as well as National League of Cities, U.S. Conference of Mayors, there is not a city on the planet that is following that model for the reasons that you have suggested. So it may very well be the rhetoric of a couple of talk show hosts that have never spent one day in their entire lives making actual decisions, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's a good blueprint to follow. But so thank you so much. Councilmember Emig.
Yes, I'm unmuted. Yeah. Okay. I was going to say something very similar to Alderman Matthey's comments, that I just wanted to acknowledge that City Manager Gleason and city staff put the budget vote on hold because it gave them and us an opportunity to really visit multiple scenarios about the impact of COVID-19, and also to revisit the decent shape that we're in, and that overall the economy does seem to be, given the challenges, that we're doing okay. So I do thank the staff for all of the transparency in the process. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Emig. Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion on the floor and we have a second. I don't see any other hands. So Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, gladly. Councilmember Matthey,
Yes.
Councilmember Boland,
Yes.
Councilmember Milwambwe,
Yes.
Councilmember Emig,
Yes.
Councilmember Painter,
Yes.
Councilmember Carrillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Black,
Yes.
Councilmember Crable,
Yes.
Councilmember Bray.
Yes.
And just for the record, I think it probably goes without saying, because I would have said anything to the contrary long ago, except for the 2015 budget, which I absolutely, as our negotiations developed in early April could not sign. I've indicated that I would veto that. Obviously, I will sign this, and we've only got till Monday in terms of our last meeting anyway. So I'm very happy with the work that we've done. And obviously in a budget, there's going to be something in it that we all like. There are going to be some things in it that we all don't like. But that's unfortunately and or fortunately the nature of policymaking. So I want to thank everyone, staff and council members, because I know we're all trying to do what's best for the city of Bloomington. Thank you so much. At this point, I'm going to turn to our city manager and city manager's discussion in terms of remarks. Mr. Gleason.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. And before we move off of FY21, I just thank you to the staff, share many of the sentiments that we've heard, and to the council. You guys get credit because this is your vision. You give very clear feedback. My marching orders, it's pretty simple to follow, and that's thanks to you guys. And then Scott Rathbun and I, we get to start working on FY22 tomorrow. So it's all good. Couple of quick comments. Our meeting coming up on April 27th. We're going to have presentations. We're going to have the EDC and the county come, and they're going to provide a presentation on the McLean County recovery loans. That'll be Patrick Hoban and County Administrator Camille Rodriguez. And then we're also going to have a presentation by PATH. That's Karen Zingler, that's going to share the programs that have existed in the community for a long time, and then what kind of adjustments she's made with her organization, amidst COVID-19. And then lastly, United Way, the board chairman, Pani Atem, and David Taylor, the executive director, are going to make a presentation on the programs that they're sharing as well. Another item, shifting a little bit, I shared, I think on Monday night, but then also last week, regarding public works, brush and bulk waste pickup, not garbage pickup, but said that I would make a decision on how we were going to adjust to try to meet the needs of the additional items that have been brought to the curb. And we welcome that. I mean, that's the perfect thing to be doing during this time that everybody's at home. But the decision that I've made, going to keep the workforce separated by design, but going to pull some people from the streets crew to help with the pickup, to use some of the knuckle booms. That was a decision that the Public Works Director, Kevin Cothe, his supervisors, also getting input from the union leadership. And that's the approach that they're going to take. We had a press release that went out a little bit earlier today. And then also already hearing positive feedback and very, very much appreciate, the ask that I had, that people stand in that picture window or come out on the porch and give the thumbs up or wave to the Public Works employees. That's very much appreciated, and it sounds like it's already happening. The last thing that I had before move on to the mayor, a lot of people in the community and even, you as elected, asked me how I'm doing as city manager, and really doing extremely well. I have a great group of elected officials, a great team to be working with. This obviously is a great community. But the one stress that I do have is a promise that I broke to myself about 10 years ago when I started going bald. I said I'd never do a comb over. And sure enough, I'm forced to do that, not getting to my barber. So that is my greatest stress right now. So please forgive the comb over. It'll change someday, the day after COVID-19's done. So thank you guys. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Tim. And I just wanted to say, not that it's a person to emulate, but we have a president of the United States who is the essence of a comb over, if not a brush over. But anyway, before I get myself into more trouble, I wanted to thank you, because actually that was going to be my question about bulk and brush pickup, because we do get that question, and I'm glad that you said it straight for for the record for tonight, and so that our council knows when, because they're inevitably going to get questions. We all get the same kinds of questions, and perhaps in different volumes or in different proportions, depending on what ward some of the council members may represent. But I've said it before, so I don't want to seem like a broken record. But thank you, Tim. Thank you, Billy. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, staff, for doing this, and thank you, council, for being responsible and on top of this, because some of you, well, 4 of you are new. This is the smoothest we have gone through a budget process, at least in my 7 years. So thank you, council. And that doesn't mean we're not going to make changes. And that doesn't mean that if this crisis continues that we may not have to make cuts, or that maybe we need to make some expenditures in some areas that we hadn't planned on before to help our most vulnerable citizens. These are issues that we can deal with as the crisis continues. But we're probably, I hope I'm wrong, we're probably still toward the earlier to mid-end of this crisis. So anyway, at this point, I see Councilmember Bray first, and then Cradle in terms of comments. So Councilmember Bray, we're going to start with you. Come on down.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, okay. Is there a second to the motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Milawambwe. I'm sorry. Okay. And given that this is, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll? We have a motion and a second. It's really non-debatable.
All right. We could do it by voice if you want me to unmute.
Why don't we unmute and do it by voice then, just because of the nature of it.
I just want to call a point of order. I'm just not sure if there were supposed to be comments and if we're able to just adjourn without addressing those items on the agenda.
That's a good question. I think that's a good question. From what I understand, is Jeff Craybill on the line? Excuse me, Jeff Craybill. Is Jeff Juergens on the line?
Yes.
Jeff, it is in order for a motion to adjourn at, since we don't have a executive session, is it in order for a motion to adjourn at council member discussion?
Yeah, a motion to adjourn would be in order. As this is a special meeting, the city manager report, the mayor update, the council comments are not even technically have to be part of the meeting. I think that's kind of a carryover, just part of our agenda system. But under the rules, a motion to adjourn, if it's got a second, would be in order.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see whether or not it passes. We're going to go ahead and start with a motion to adjourn. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll beginning with Ward 1, please?
So, I'm sorry. So just on that
yeah.
point of order, I just want to know if Alderman Crable was trying
Point
to
of
motion to
order.
adjourn.
There's a point of order. We called the matter to a vote. Point of order.
Okay, there was a question, and just to clarify Councilmember Carrillo's question, the motion.
Question is out of order. The matter was called to a vote. I ask that it comes to a vote. Thank
just
you.
clarifying our vote, and that is a vote is possible, as I understand from our legal counsel, to adjourn the meeting, given that it's a special meeting and that aldermanic comments are not necessarily, as I understand this, Jeff, required. So a motion to adjourn and a second is in order. So
Sure.
I will accept that.
Point of order.
Okay.
No comment.
A point of order, which is, don't we generally have a discussion before we take a vote?
The matter's been called to vote. Point of order.
Okay. We don't need a point of order because we're going to have a vote right now.
I do have a point of order, Mayor. Don't we generally have a discussion before we take a vote?
Not been called on. This is to vote. It's time to vote. Thank you.
Just to clarify, just if I could answer Councilmember Carrillo's question. Yes, we generally do. It's listed here, but as our corporate counsel has suggested, we do not have to have that. A motion to adjourn is in order if it has a second.
I just don't think you're understanding my question. My question is,
I'd like to
Alderwoman Bright, if you could please stop
Alderwoman
interrupting me
Carrillo,
so I can
please
ask
take
my
the floor
question.
when this matter's been called to vote.
Okay,
I'd
okay.
like for the vote
Alderwoman
to
Bright,
occur.
if you would just please, stop interrupting me so I can ask my question.
No, Alderwoman Carrillo, you're out of order.
Mayor
and
Renner,
you not be speaking in this space. Thank you.
Mayor Renner, my question is not regarding the aldermanic comment. My question is just about a discussion prior to the adjournment vote. And I just don't think you've been able to hear me.
The adjournment vote.
Yes.
No, that's
The
been asked
question-
and answered. Point of
No, it
order.
hasn't. No,
Point
it
of
hasn't.
order. Yes, it has.
Well,
Thank
I
you.
couldn't hear the answer over you yelling. So if you could just allow the mayor to
That's
repeat
not
himself.
true. That's
Okay.
not true. The answer should be, was offered up clearly by
I cannot
our,
hear. I
city
cannot
council.
hear over you, Alderwoman
Okay,
Bryce.
just to clarify, I had asked our corporate counsel if a motion to adjourn was in order and a second, and he said correct. So I am now going to call for a vote on a point, not the point of order, I'm sorry. I'm going to call for a vote to adjourn because this is what our corporate counsel has suggested, even though under normal circumstances, we would have aldermanic comments. Would you please call the roll, Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Mathey,
No.
Councilmember Bolin,
Yes.
Councilmember Milwambwe,
Yes.
Councilmember Emig,
No.
Councilmember Painter,
Yes.
Councilmember Carrillo,
No.
Councilmember Black,
No.
Councilmember Crable,
No.
Councilmember Bray.
Yes.
Okay, the motion fails, so we're going to go back to aldermanic comments. And we're going to start with Councilmember Craig.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just think it's good to every meeting that we have is to remind people to complete the census. Of course, remind us. I just did mine a couple weeks ago, right before I did my taxes. So it was kind of a good thing to do at the same time, but there's still time to do it. And, you know, I know with everything going on, it's hard to put that as a priority, but if you think about its importance to the city and the funds that we get and the funds that may not be available to us because of this crisis, I would just encourage everybody in the community to complete that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And let's see, I think that is the last comment. Is there a motion to adjourn now? Moved by Councilmember Carrillo. Is there a second? Is there a second to adjourn?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Mathey. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? You can stay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And now we are adjourned. Good evening.
Okay.
Thank you.